So we got some breaking news on the World War III front. 4 big things have just happened in the past couple hours. We had some attacks on St. Petersburg. It appears explosions have rung out at an airbase that apparently houses military aircraft in St. Petersburg. This is Russia's second largest city. It is far removed from Ukraine, signaling that this might have been either a drone attack or maybe it was another act of sabotage. We really don't know. A lot of this is coming from social media, so we have to take it all with a grain of salt. However, we also have this footage that claims to show Vladimir Putin being rushed off in a very emergent fashion to the Kremlin. These cars are traveling very fast. Was he being taken to a bunker in anticipation of a pending attack? It's possible, because last month in St. Petersburg, Russia's most prominent, or one of their most prominent bloggers, who was very pro-war, was assassinated in St. Petersburg along with 40 other people who were casualties of that explosion. So they're probably taking this seriously. Now, you need to understand the context of all this that's happening. Xi Jinping, the leader of China, phones Zelensky today. Now, at first, I'm kind of hopeful, but then I get to thinking about, okay, why would this be happening right now? Typically, this level of diplomacy is going to happen before something big is about to happen, either in an attempt to stop it, in an attempt to delay it, slow it down, whatever the case might be. What has happened is that the Ukrainians have claimed to have established a bridgehead on their side of the river. Okay, so this is Russian territory here. This is blown up. This is Kherson, what the Ukrainians control. This is part of the territory that the Russians have annexed. The Ukrainians claim to have crossed the river. Up until a couple days ago anyways, they weren't claiming this. It was basically divided by the river. Now they're claiming that they've made it to this side of the river. Now there's footage of Russian soldiers claiming to dispute this, that the Ukrainians aren't actually here. This is a big territory, and this would be a place that they would stage this counteroffensive. Now, you might not think that this pertains to you, and it might not right now. But what will pertain to everybody is if the Ukrainians are able to... Okay, so that was a blown up image of what we're seeing here, okay? So this is what the Russians control. Actually, maybe, let me see if I can find a better map for you here. This is probably better, okay? So this is what Russia claims as their annexed territory. This is what they're hoping will be the demilitarized zone. So if the Ukrainians are able to establish a bridgehead here, and then they wrap around here from Zaporozhye, the nuclear power plant's right here, so we know that that's going to be in the news in the not so distant future. They're going to come down here. There's a city called Melitopol, and then they might do a 2-pronged attack, possibly, and try to move down here to Crimea, and then they're just going to go back this way. Maybe they don't even care about Luhansk and Donetsk anymore. It's possible that they don't, or they're just going to take this back first. If they are successful, guys, that's when things get really, really nukey up in here. Now, I'm not saying, I'm getting really tired of warning about the threat of a potential nuclear escalation, but we are here now, okay? These incidents, as they've happened today, I think that Xi Jinping reached out to the Ukrainian leader in an attempt to try to mitigate this issue before it spiraled out of control. They're claiming that they're going to send an envoy. They didn't specify a date. I think if the Chinese were able to successfully send an envoy to Ukraine to act as some sort of go-between between the Russians, I think that would be a good start. But what we're probably going to see here is the vested interests in the military-industrial complex start to get involved, and they're going to start nudging the Ukrainians to get on with it. That's what I think is going to happen now that the Chinese have opened up this door to communications. However, regardless of whether China is genuine in their interests in trying to promote peace, nobody trusts anybody right now. I mean, nobody. The Chinese don't even trust the Russians, okay, as much as we're being told that by the alternative media. They have their own gripes, but they probably trust each other more than they trust the Americans in the West right now. But everybody's just going to interpret any sort of short-term peace deal as an opportunity for the other side to build up their forces again and buy more time, because this is historically what has happened. So there will be no peace deal. I don't think. I can't see how it's going to be possible. I could be wrong. I could totally be wrong. I hope I'm wrong, because there's nothing I'd like to get back out into the bush and start making videos about survival-related concepts, okay? I would much rather have a stable global economy where we lived in a multipolar utopia and everybody got along, but let's get real for a second. You can't have two people running one household. You can't have two presidents of one country. And you sure as hell can't have two superpowers coexisting without some unending Cold War. Okay, so that is what is happening in the world right now. These explosions, this video that claims that Vladimir Putin is being rushed off to the Kremlin, it's all what we would expect to see in the run-up to something major like this, because this will be the deciding battle, at least this year. Who knows what's going to happen next year? Now, a lot of people are criticizing China's attempts at trying to broker this deal. The Czech president says, no, the Chinese actually benefit from getting cheap oil and gas from Russia. The Chinese benefit from the West being bled dry in their support for Ukraine. And they also benefit by it taking attention away from what's going on in Taiwan. And there's a lot going on in Taiwan. We have to talk about that. In fact, I didn't finish my summary. We also have to talk about a biolab emergency happening in Sudan right now, nuclear missiles that are now going to be situated in South Korea in nuclear submarine format. And this is the first time that's happened in 40 years. Okay, so this is the Cold War, guys. 40 years we have American nuclear submarine with nuclear missiles in South Korea, just a couple hundred kilometers from the coast of China. They're not going to like that, and neither are the Russians. That's the big thing to keep in mind here, is that South Korea is very close to Russia as well. We have China on alert after a threat by the EU. Joseph Borrell threatened to send warships. I don't know how much sway or power he has. He's the chief of the European Union, I do believe, to send warships from Europe into the Taiwan Strait to promote peace and solidarity. We're going to show you today in pictures, in maps, how completely, utterly annihilated and destroyed global trade is going to be if a war breaks out in the Taiwan Strait. Most people don't know. Most people have no idea where their stuff comes from. Most people don't realize that 95% of all of the essential generic medications, chronic medications that I think just in America alone 130 million people rely on to keep them alive or at a decent level of fitness to get through their day, it all comes from India. And all of those medications that are made in India, all of the ingredients, like 70 to 80%, come from China. Okay, and the trade routes that they have to traverse through the Pacific means that the detours that they're going to have to take, if there's a no-fly zone extending out hundreds of miles in all directions from Taiwan, is going to be vast. It's going to be very expensive. You're going to have massive bottlenecks. The whole supply chain is going to collapse overnight. Most people have no idea what's coming. Okay, so we got Sleepy Creepy talking about how he's going to basically nuke the hell out of North Korea. That's something that pretty much every president has their obligatory moment doing. Trump did it. I'm pretty sure Obama said it at one point in time. But yeah, so the North Koreans are arming up to the teeth. They probably now already have about 100 nuclear missiles. And South Korea is now having nuclear submarines, and that is way too close to comfort for the Americans. Not that, you know, the Americans probably didn't already have submarines in and around here, around Russia anyways. And of course, there's always Alaska, you know, but still, that's getting very, very close. People are criticizing Macron's attempts at trying to negotiate with China as just going to be insufficient and delusional, as it's called. This is Jeremy Warner. He's of The Telegraph. He's saying that the invasion of Taiwan is inevitable. I pretty much agree with that. I think the United States has made it inevitable by sending 25 military contractors there, hundreds of troops to train Taiwan, sending all kinds of weapons. And now what's going on here is this nuclear submarine that came from Guam is now going up to South Korea, and that's right outside. I mean, imagine if the Chinese or the Russians permanently stationed nuclear weapons just a few hundred kilometers from our borders. That would be a huge provocation. So China's on full-scale alert. Now, here's what's going on in the sea. Now, so you have Taiwan over here. You have Guam over here. And there's all kinds of military bases, American bases throughout here. They just had a rehearsal, a major war exercise in the Philippines. They're going to be building a multitude of bases. Most people don't realize the Philippines have islands right up here that are just like a stone's throw away from Taiwan. So this is how close. This is where the Americans were doing some exercises. This is how close the Americans are going to be to this fight if and when China decides to do this naval blockade. Now, the Chinese have hypersonic missiles, so it wouldn't be difficult to imagine that they sink an aircraft carrier or two. And that, of course, will lead to, likely lead to an escalation. It depends on who's going to take it to the nuclear level first. But China has a lot that I think we don't even know about because they're so secretive. Anyways, apparently in some of these exercises I read, and this is just, hearsay, that they attempted to demonstrate a few HIMARS missile tests and it took them 6 times to hit the target. I don't know if that's uncommon. You have to burn 6 HIMARS in order to hit a target. They were trying to impress their Philippine counterparts, and apparently it didn't go so well. Anyways, so what we got here, this is what we got for global trade. Okay, I've shown this map before. This is marine traffic. Now, notice that pretty much all the stuff that brings, I can't remember what they call this region, but this region right here of Asia, this is home to like 4 to 5 billion people. Like the majority of everybody on Earth lives here. All of this stuff, as you can see, how densely packed these trade lanes are, these naval lanes, all of this stuff goes through there. Like most of the stuff in your house has flown through this region. And the reason why it has to flow through here and can't go straight across is because of the ocean currents. And I'm by no means an expert in this subject. I just know that the ocean currents dictate the efficiency of travel. Okay, so in the north, where a lot of the ships travel from, this is going to confuse people because we commonly know this to be the, I gotta fix that there. We commonly know this to be the east, but when they're traveling from west to east, so when stuff is coming from China to Alaska, California, Vancouver, it's coming on this northern current. But to access that current, you have to go through the Taiwan Strait or in and around the Taiwan Strait. If you can't do that, you have to go into this head current here, I guess you'd call it. There is a counter-equatorial current. I don't know if they sail a lot of stuff through there. I'm presuming it's not as efficient. It's just going this way. And of course, we're trying to interpret a globe on a 2D plane, so this isn't going to map on. It's not going to make a whole lot of sense as to why they're seemingly going on this curve. But that's the direction of travel. So just imagine, this is a better image. I should have shown this one first. Okay, so this is where all the shipping lanes are. All right, so they all go up to the south of Japan. So this is the Taiwan Strait. This is the biggest bottleneck of all. And all of those ships go through the north. So if they can't go this way, where are they going to reroute to? They're going to probably have to go around the Philippines somehow and then maybe come back up here and then get back in this lane. Whatever the case, it's going to create a major flustercluck. I was going to say it the other way. Thank God I didn't, because I don't want to have to restart this video again. But it's not going to end well for global trade. So you need to be prepared to have a contingency plan of how you're going to deal with not having the bare essentials. And I'm talking not just about stuff from Walmart and all of the technologies that we've come to enjoy here in the West thanks to the cheap labor and manufacturing of the Chinese. I'm talking about medication. Now, we have a big announcement to make next week. This is going to be a game changer for the preparedness community. Okay, I can't spill the beans on it just yet, but it is going to be an absolute game changer in terms of preparedness. It's going to deal with the most fundamental aspect of preparedness that has been very difficult up until this time for people to procure, but we've found a solution. And yeah, I mean, that's basically the gist of what I want to talk about today, guys. There has been a biolab emergency in Sudan. It's an interesting chain of events that have happened in Sudan. September of 2022. U.S. ambassador warns Sudan against finalizing a Russian naval base deal. Okay, February 12th, 2023. Sudan confirms deal for a Russian naval base. Key players are Lavrov and Buret, who is I believe he's the president of Sudan. Or no, sorry, that's General Buret, the Sudanese Armed Forces. Okay. Now, Victoria Nuland goes there on March 9th to discuss democracy. April 8th, conflict escalates between the Sudanese Armed Forces and the paramilitary group under Dagalo. And April 22nd, of course, the U.S. is surrounding Sudan with warships, evacuating people. You got special ops going in there. I've had some messages sent to me from people. I'm not going to disclose the specific unit, but that they are going there for offensive purposes, that it's not for the purposes of rescue. So we can see a new proxy war developing in Africa. We have proxy wars developing on every single front. We have Syria in the Middle East, we have Sudan in Africa, we have Ukraine in the West, and we're about to have Korea and possibly Taiwan in the East. So things are just shaping up in a very bad way. I got a message from somebody, and I don't know what to make of this. I asked them for proof. They couldn't provide any. They're probably just pulling my leg, to be brutally honest. But I figure I'd put it out there because we do know that the Russians recently had asked YouTube to take down some videos that disseminated national security secrets as it pertained to their bunkers. Apparently, these were publicly known about, but the Russian government requested that YouTube take the videos down. This is according to an article I read. I can't even remember where. I talked about this yesterday in a video. But this is the title of the article if you want to go and research it. Okay? So Russia scrambling to hide the locations of secret bunkers. Oh yeah, it was on Newsweek, which is semi-credible, very, very pro-West, pro-Ukrainian. But by our standards, everybody would say, oh yeah, that's a credible news source. Anyways, they're scrambling to hide the locations of the secret bunkers. Why? Well, who knows? I mean, they're not installing missile defense in and around Moscow for no reason. They're not rushing the Russian off to the Kremlin, for no reason. If that, in fact, was the case, I got a message from somebody who claimed that the Russians were moving various works of art into the bunkers and different artifacts of importance, I guess you could say, into nuclear bunkers. Take that one with a big grain of salt. Take everything you see on Twitter and social media with a massive grain of salt, as well as Telegram, because there's just a lot of disinformation and rebranding of various types of footage, and it's very easy for someone to post a picture and say it's something, and then what is that old saying? The lies spread around the world while the truth is still putting its pants on type thing. So yeah, just keep your head on a swivel and stay tuned, because we got a lot of amazing videos coming up for you guys. We're putting a lot of work in here behind the scenes, and we're trying to make it fun at the same time, because what else can you do? You can't just be doom and gloom every day, and if these videos give you anxiety, don't watch them. Somebody posted a comment yesterday that said, hey, I really support your channel, but every time I watch your videos, I get depressed. And I said, well, don't watch them. Maybe they're just not for you. Some people, when they see this kind of information, they feel more empowered, knowing a little bit more about how the world works and what is going on. Other people, it just gives them way too much anxiety. The solution is, don't watch it, okay? One more thing to talk about. We had that flash sale yesterday. I talked about my EDC. This is the only pair of pants I wear, same pair of pants I've worn for the last 5 years. The best EDC pant. I've actually done a dedicated review on them already, but I'm going to do a dedicated EDC video. And they go with these EDC tools like butter. It's a match made in heaven. The Streamlight Wedge, nice flat form factor. Very just amendable to a practical everyday flashlight. You don't want stuff that's heavy, because eventually what's going to happen, it's heavy, it looks cool, you're not going to want to pick it up. One of these days you're just going to be like, I don't want to carry that thing. I got to go on a date or something like that. Who wants to carry a big clunky flashlight and a big giant menacing knife on a date? You get yourself a nice lightweight Benchmade bug out which is, you know, you can get it in different colors, so it's not that scary looking. You might want to keep that concealed if you're on a date anyways, right? Because that might give her the creeps, guys. But that's the best combination. Flashlight, Benchmade bug out, the pants. I found an ideal multi-tool, and it's not a Leatherman. Okay, so we're going to talk about that in the future too. So we're going to still have some fun until the wheels fall off, until the ship sinks. You know, we're going to keep playing the tunes on the Titanic while the whole thing sinks. But you guys let me know what your take is on any of the stories that we've talked about in the video today. And I'm going to call it a video because yesterday's video was way too long. And I think some people, I was trying their patience. So that's all I got for you. Thanks for watching, guys. Take care. Canadian Prepper out.